Here is Henry on the reception for the touchdown. Good luck trying to defend this group.
Yeah, they just decided not to. Late in the game, ball in the flat in the red zone to Derrick Henry. 2 Tampa Bay defenders said, nah, no thank you. And the Ravens put up 41 points. The Ravens are averaging 460 yards a game offensively. The Ravens, the highest scoring team in the NFL. But they're in the mid-20s in the NFL in points allowed. How do the Steelers compare to the Ravens? How do the Steelers at 5-2 stack up against the AFC's elite? We'll get to that in this segment. You can chime in at 412-928-9370 on the Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service, Pittsburgh trusted plumbing and HVAC provider for over 50 years. And the Fan Morning Show is brought to you by Guardian Protection, your hometown home and business security company. Before we do get to that, here's a text. Pete Davidson, how's he get the hot women? Pete Davidson has the Russell Wilson resume here. You know, there might be younger, hotter models like Justin Fields, but you look at the resume and you go, guy's gotten it done. Pete Davidson has dated like 30 starlets.
Yes.
And he kind of looks like he fell out of the ugly tree and hit every stick on the way down.
Kinda.
But he's a funny guy.
Is he?
I don't know. Funny is subjective.
How far does that? How far does funny get you though?
It got me my wife. But I don't think funny can get you 30 starlets.
No.
So there might be something else going on.
There has to be something else.
And I'm guessing it's south of the equator. Word of mouth.
There's something else.
But funny and rich can also get you far. And he is funny and rich. Or at least he's definitely rich.
Yes.
412-928-9370. We're talking about people who might not be the prettiest, who have had a lot of success. Owen Wilson, Andrew Siciliano. You can chime in on the text line, brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates, a personal injury law firm where they always say there's never a fee unless we get money for you. I'm not going to read the texts that say Adam Crowley. Okay, so the Ravens win, and they're impressive. I think this is the best their offense has looked in the Lamar Jackson era, Dorin, and their offense has largely always been good in the Lamar Jackson era. Can the Steelers win the division? Are the Steelers in the conversation with Baltimore as one of the best teams in the AFC?
I don't know if they're in the conversation yet, because the Steelers still have to find their groove, and Baltimore at first, and we're going to have Lock and 4 on today at 9:30, right? And he's a resident of Baltimore and knows the Ravens very well, and he was not a fan of the Derrick Henry signing, and it took them a little, 3-4 games to kind of figure it out. They've clearly hit their stride and figure out who they are, their identity, the cliche word of football. I don't know if the Steelers have done that yet. I think they know who they want to be. Russell Wilson has started one football game, so they're kind of behind the 8 ball there of finding who they want to be, at least on offense. So the Ravens just are so Derrick Henry's breaking out 70-yard runs like it's nothing.
Every week he seems to do that.
Every single week. I'm not going to say that the Steelers can get to a point where they are talked about as one of the top teams, but right now they are not in the same category as the Ravens, in my opinion.
You need to stay close enough to Baltimore in the standings to do what you always do against Baltimore. That's how you win the division. It's not complicated. You need to keep pace with them. You need to beat teams like the Giants. You need to go into the bye at 6-2 because you know that both Ravens games are going to come down to the wire. The Steelers have beat Baltimore 6 out of 7 times. They've bottled up Lamar Jackson. Now, that's before Derrick Henry was around. And let's also call it like it is. In a few of these games, the Ravens haven't had Lamar Jackson. But still, they've won 6 out of 7 against their foes from Baltimore. If you're around it and you can find a way to beat them a couple of times, you can win the division. You should win the division. You would win the division. And you need this season to win the division. That's the next attainable goal for the Steelers. I know it's been, are they trying to find their franchise quarterback? Well, yeah, kind of. Well, they need to win a playoff game. Folks, they're not going to win a playoff game if they don't win the division, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to win that division because if you win, you're playing the Broncos or you're playing the Chargers or maybe you're playing the Colts or perhaps a Bengals team that, frankly, I don't think's all that good. And you would be doing that at the friendly confines of Acrisure Stadium, which was juiced up the other night.
Yes, it was.
I think Steelers fans would be bonkers in a home playoff game. We've been waiting a while for that.
Yes.
If you lose the division, Dorin, you're going on the road to Kansas City or to Baltimore or to Buffalo or to Houston. Hey, you win the division, you'll be favored in your first playoff game. You lose the division, and you will be a 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 point underdog. Like, that's what's at stake. So that's, to me, the next attainable goal. And I do think it's attainable. I'd pick Baltimore to win the division as we sit here today, but I do think the Steelers have a chance. I think right now I would consider the Steelers the 5th best team in the AFC.
Yeah, that's about right.
Behind the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, and Texans.
That's about right.
Yeah.
But Baltimore's beatable. Like, I mean, clearly the Raiders walked into Baltimore and beat them. I mean, they're beatable. And the Steelers, like you said, like, they found ways to beat them and to, stay more relevant than they are in those two games every single year. You have to get the one at home. Like, I mean, that's a must, right?
Have to get it.
When is that? That is
right
November
after Washington.
November 21st?
So that's the game
16th.
After the game, after the bye.
Yeah, it's the 16th.
Yeah.
Because the Clemson game's before that. You have to get that game at home. You have to slow Derrick Henry down. And you know that Derrick Henry, and they want to close games out in the fourth quarter with Derrick Henry, and that's clearly the way that he's been, really just operating. He starts off very slow. So you have to have your best defensive game plan clearly against them and not let them even get started.
Well, and you know what, Dorin? They have to close out games that way because they can't do it defensively.
Yeah.
Baltimore is 24th in the league in points against, and Baltimore is dead ass last by a fairly significant margin in pass defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have 287 passing yards a game, and they're doing a bad job in the third and fourth quarters of putting teams away. That game last night was 34-10, and they were really never in danger of losing, but Tampa Bay was able to come back and make it at least look respectable on the final score. They've had that happen multiple times. They blew a game against the Las Vegas Raiders early on in the season. They can't hold on to leads unless they're running the ball. And that's how they're designed. I do think they're vulnerable, and I think it's obvious why the Steelers made the switch to Russell Wilson. It wasn't just about beating a beleaguered New York Jets team that was missing 3 starters and then ultimately more starters by the end of that game. No, you're going to have to beat the Baltimore Ravens putting the ball in the air. The Ravens are number 1 in the NFL in rush defense. Now, the Steelers, don't look now, they're 9th in the league in running the football.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about identity, and it's only going to get better, I would think, with Russell Wilson, and teams are going to have to make a decision. If they're going to hit deep shots to George Pickens, you're going to see a lot of cover two. We've seen safeties pretty much up until the end of the game this week sprinting to the line of scrimmage at the snap of the football. You're not going to be able to do that anymore if Russell Wilson can consistently be able to take deep shots and hit deep shots and George Pickens make plays. You need to throw the football to beat the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not saying that they're going to beat Baltimore twice or anything like that this year. But that move was designed to attack a specific weakness on your biggest rival, the team you're competing with to win the division.
And the appropriate time was this week to do that, so you can get some primer games. So you can get the game on Sunday night. You can get the Giants game, and then after the bye week, I believe it's the Commanders. So you have some games that you can kind of figure some things out. If you're the Steelers, when throwing the ball in the air with Russell Wilson, let him get his feet underneath him, and then you could attack this division. I think that this all is kind of premeditated to just really attack what the second half of the schedule is. Like, it's all about that at the end of the day, right? I mean, I think that they're thinking exactly how you are. We have to win this division so we can set ourselves up with a home playoff game and give us the best advantage to win that playoff game and not have to travel somewhere. And if we do travel somewhere, it's a team that, man, these teams, you're talking about four teams that are probably more than capable of being in the AFC Championship game, at least, and one of them. But, I mean, it's going to Houston, Buffalo, and then Baltimore. Man, you don't want to have to play there in the first week of the playoffs.
Absolutely
You
not.
do not want to.
So you think about the Ravens and their porous pass defense. Steelers going to play Cincinnati twice. Cincinnati has one of the best offenses in football all of a sudden. And I don't think Joe Burrow played all that well against Cleveland. He never seems to. I think they had lost 6 straight games in Cleveland. If Cleveland had an offense with a pulse, I think they beat Cincinnati. But Joe Burrow played a clean game and has been playing maybe MVP level football. Their defense has been their problem. But in order to beat Cincinnati, your defense will do some stuff too, but you're going to have to score in the mid-20s. You can't. You're probably not going to beat them 18-14.
No.
So you got to score some points. Kansas City on your schedule. You're going to have to score some points. Philadelphia on your schedule. You're going to have to score some points. So I am relieved, that might be the word, that Mike Tomlin said winning games ugly is not enough. We need to win games by throwing the ball. And now I think they've shown you that they can win multiple ways. They played Atlanta to start the year, and we thought, that's how they're going to have to win.
Yes.
Run the ball, play defense, kick field goals, time of possession. Well, they did it that way. Then against the Chargers, second half, they open it up. They start throwing the ball all over the place. Indianapolis, they're throwing the ball all over the place. Dallas, it was an ugly football game, and they tried to drag Dallas into the mud. They didn't win the game. But now they realize we got to throw the ball to win, and they did it this week, and they're doing it with special teams, and they're doing it with defense, and their point differential is second best in the AFC. I'm seeing a lot of positive signs from these Steelers, and I think that they could, in a one-off, beat Houston. I do think in a one-off they could beat Buffalo. 9 times out of 10? I don't know. 10 times out of 10? No. 5 out of 10? 3 out of 10? The way they're playing football, the way they're designed right now, gives them a shot. Now you got to grow it from there.